right, here we go. Welcome in. It is a new day. It is a new day for Smack Talk here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook channel. I'm Rick Ucchino, SP3, joining me as always, and the new star of the show, going to be with us every Friday night, talking about Friday Night SmackDown here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. It is the wrestling legend himself, and sadly, I now have the second best mustache on this show. It is Mr. Dutch Mantel joining us here. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Hey, Rick, I had a mustache like that when I was about 9.
It took me 30 years to grow this.
Really? Well, that's okay. Okay, did everybody watch the show?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
You didn't watch it, Sid?
Yeah, I did. Of course I did.
Watch it. Hey, I was telling everybody, well, not everybody, but the only people that would listen to me, this is the first SmackDown show I've watched, from start to finish in 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
I didn't even watch SmackDown when I was in the WWE.
Now, is there a reasoning behind that?
Well, when you've been in 6,000 matches like I have, and probably witnessed live about 30,000, after a while, you hit that consumption point to where it just all blends together. So, but anyway, I saw the show, and it was a wraparound show.
Yeah.
It was a go home show, so I didn't expect a lot out of it. But they pulled all their stuff together. So if you don't know by now, you will know after you watch this show. And if the people are tuning in now have watched it, they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think overall it felt kind of like a glorified clip show, like one of those things that you would see in like a sitcom or something, like where they're halfway through the season and they just need like a break, and they just do kind of like one big massive like recap show. That's what like tonight felt like. Like there was a lot of great promo work, not a whole lot of action, only 3 matches on the show tonight. I thought the Battle Royal, and we'll get there, was actually booked really, really well considering the storylines of the past year. Not prominent storylines, but I think they were all mixed in there really well. Sid, what'd you think overall of tonight's Go Home edition, the WrestleMania edition of Friday Night SmackDown?
To piggyback off of what you guys said, like I kind of went into the show expecting it to be like this, because when they said the WrestleMania edition of SmackDown, I'm not expecting WrestleMania type matches, but I know we were going to get the Andre. I knew we were going to get the Fatal 4-Way for the SmackDown tag team titles, which both of those I feel were good. And the promo work for the main event, this is one of the best booked main events of WrestleMania in quite some time, in my opinion.
There was a point in that show I did not totally understand. It was Sonya Deville. Is that her name, Sonya?
Yeah.
Talking. Who's the guy she talking to? What's his name?
That's Adam Pearce. So he's kind of like the GM, the backstage guy, right? Yeah, the main guy.
What was she saying? She was advocating for him to remove Daniel Bryan from the 3-way.
Yes.
But you didn't hear any more about it.
I think it was a mistake because this episode was pre-taped. I think that had to do with something that happened last week or something, right? Because they didn't make this triple threat match until quite recently. I don't think that clip was supposed to be on this show. I really don't.
Why do you think? Well, it went through about at least 40 pairs of eyes.
Probably, yeah. I don't know why it was there. It didn't make any sense. It was dated by that point. By the time it aired, the tag team title match had already taken place. So I don't know how or why she got in there.
Catch me up on something. Sonya Deville lost a loser leave or some match, 2 months ago?
Yeah, SummerSlam.
And then she came back. How'd she come back?
She showed up one night on SmackDown wearing a suit, looking great as she always does, and basically came up to Adam Pearce and thanked her for the opportunity to work backstage as a producer or an assistant to him, and she's pretty much been in and out ever since.
No, she doesn't work in the ring anymore.
Not yet. She has not been in the ring since SummerSlam.
So what's her actual job? She does produce backstage. She's an agent.
Her on-screen role is as Adam Pearce's assistant.
Okay. So what does she really do? She just an on-air talent.
Yeah, as a display.
Okay. Okay, you want to go from the top, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hop. Yeah. All right.
Daniel Bryan, I think his in-ring interview, when you consider there's no fans there whatsoever, You got those cardboard cutouts, and they're piping the sound in. I thought his interview was tremendous.
Yeah.
And I mean, see, by me knowing nothing about the card, that actually got me excited.
Yeah.
About how this match is going to come out. Because he does have a story. He got hurt. They said, you're done, and you're coming back. And I remember I was on that WrestleMania when he won the title, and everybody was super happy. So he's got some of that momentum going in. And then later on, of course, you heard Edge with a lot of passion.
Yeah.
A lot of passion in that interview, which I'm saying, you know, I mean, it's just not, it wasn't like a minute interview. I'm going to go in there and do my best. And, you know, he put something in it. It was good. And I didn't hear the Roman Reigns interview at the end. I just didn't hear that. But so far, it was a good show. What do you think, Sid? I
think that Daniel Bryan is just a type of guy that knows how to rally fans behind him. And this was just a prototype type of babyface promo, a go home promo to get the fans on your side going into this big main event matchup. He knows how to kind of get those promo beats where you're kind of remembering the lines that he says. Everyone said no to me, but I said yes. Just saying that over and over again, it gets it in your mind so you remember the promo, and that's what makes memorable promos. It's the lines that stick with you, and Daniel Bryan did that in the opening promo. Just a great job setting the stage for what was 3 excellent promos throughout the night.
Yeah, good job.
And I think the thing that Daniel Bryan does so well is he knows how to connect to the audience, because Daniel Bryan is that guy that, you know, that we all strive to be, right? You know, he's a guy who's overcome all the obstacles in his life. You know, he represents just that guy or girl who just breaks through no matter what, puts in the years of hard work, overcomes all the odds, accomplishes everything that he ever wanted in life, and gets there at the finish line. And he always the underdog, always mistreated, but somehow always finds a way on top. And that's what we all want out of life. And he finds a way to speak that to the audience. And I think that's why a lot of people really, you know, it resonates with him. And that's why they attach themselves to Daniel Bryan. And absolutely, he speaks, him and Edge tonight, both powerful.
Guys, I'm frozen here for some reason.
Uh-oh. All right.
You look fine on my end.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah, no. All right. Well, why don't we? Do you have it at all?
No, we had that. Yeah, we had that trouble last night. I get it every now and then.
All right, but are you good now? Nothing.
I see Sid moving, but you're frozen, Rick.
Oh. Well, maybe.
Maybe you no.
Maybe Kevin can. Why don't you try to get back in, like drop out and get back in, and we'll give this a shot again.
If you could. Let me go. Be back in a minute. I may get back. I may not. Okay.
It's a new show. You know, we're trying things out. All right, there he is. He's back now. You got us?
Am I back? I just moved out a minute and come back. All right.
There you go.
Good. You're good to go now?
I am good to go now.
All right. Sounds good. So again, I think Daniel, again, he just knows how to speak to the audience. He knows how to connect with the audience. And, you know, it was just a really good way to get, I was hyped for this matchup just straight off of Daniel Bryan's promo.
Yeah.
And then Edge comes out and cuts a completely different, like, holy crap promo where he's talking about, look, I am tired of people disrespecting me. You got to look at what I've done and everything that I've overcome in life. And look, I dreamed something and I manifest it. That was the line that really stuck with me. I dreamed something and I manifest it. And I want that Universal Championship, and I'm going to take it because I dreamed it. And then he dropped in that nice little line about calling Roman Reigns the Samoan Edge, which legitimately popped me. I thought that was really good. Again, fire and passion. But I think the interesting thing was here, he's kind of had this heel turn, right? But they piped in cheers at the end. They were cheering for him at the end, which is something that was interesting to me.
Well, I think that heel babyface turn sometimes is overrated because he's going for the title. And even when I used to wrestle, I was like an in-betweener. I could go either way, which is great because now you can wrestle anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
See, back when I wrestled, we only carried like not like WWE. They got like 80 guys, 80 talents. We had maybe on a big night 18. So if you split 8 heels and 8 baby faces, you only had 8 possible guys you could work with.
Yeah.
But if you're an in-betweener, you can work with your side and their side. So you have an unlimited number of people that you can actually have matches with, which I found good. But I think Edge kind of falls into that. Don't you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because last week I told Rick that I felt like Roman was the tweener in this story, but this week they kind of switched that on its head and they made Edge more of the tweener, where, you know, I was hearing his promo and I was just knowing that Rick was at home in Tampa cheering him on, because I was like, he's getting the fans that are in love with Edge to rally behind him, although he's cutting kind of a heel promo. And I will give it to him as well. He heard those tweets and those takes about him looking old, and he got the fresh color in his beard. I like it. I like it, Edge. I like it.
You could tell he heard those tweets based off of his comments tonight. Like, just sitting here saying, you guys need to put some damn respect on my name. Like, he heard those "I'm too old," that too old crap, talking about how he's doing Hurricane Ranas off the top rope and he's not doing any of this part-timer stuff. Nobody's doing what he's doing at his age, coming off of the injury that he had.
What injury did he have? A neck injury?
Yeah. So he had to retire in 2011 after, basically he had like neck fusion surgery at that point. And he had to retire, and he was on like the no touch list for like 8-9 years until finally he was able to rehab and get back, basically.
How long was it? He was out 9 years.
Yeah. Almost 10. Yeah. So tomorrow, or his match on Sunday, is 10 years to the day that he retired. That he had to retire,
but he got no recognition from that.
Exactly.
Now, he was the only. He would be the only one who would pick that up, and that's a good note.
Yeah, and look, go ahead.
Because they would beat it to death if it was Daniel Bryan or if it was somebody else. They would beat that to death, and I kind of agree with him. I don't think they did it on purpose. They just didn't throw it in there, but I'm glad he brought attention to it.
Yeah, and now that I think about it, they really did kind of beat that to death with Daniel Bryan when he came back 3 years ago. Like, that's what when he came back from all the concussion-related issues, they did kind of like really push that angle hard, and they didn't really do that with Edge so much. So that's a really interesting point that you put out there. So we get Daniel Bryan and we get Edge, and they're cutting these big, passionate promos, and then Roman Reigns comes out at the end of the night, not giving Jey Uso barely any time to bask in the glory of winning the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And he comes down and he's kind of calm. He's kind of cool. He's just playing that sly Roman Reigns thing, saying, I don't know why I got to be here. I'm not a politician. I don't need to sell myself to anybody. I'm going to show up and I'm going to win because I'm the guy who pops the ratings around here. I'm the guy who made this Universal title relevant. He's not a dreamer. He's the man with the golden hand. He saves careers. Sid, point out the lies to me. Point out
my God.
Tonight.
He was dropping bars here. This one was Roman just hearing the promos from Edge and Daniel Bryan, which were very passionate promos. And then Roman just was the inverse. He was just indignant at the fact that he had to speak on the show. And like the way he went to Paul Heyman. Who saves careers, Paul? You do. Who gave you the greatest year of your life, Oos? Well, it got the gold to prove it. Just Roman is awesome. Just show up and win. You know the slogan. You bought the t-shirt. Like, it's just, he is just so cocky, so overconfident, and you either are gonna hate him and want to see him lose, or you're gonna love him and you're just like, man, this guy's great, and that's me.
Did you change any of your predictions we made earlier about after watching this?
No, I'm gonna stick with Roman Reigns getting the victory. I flip-flopped. Rick can tell you over the past couple of weeks, I flip-flopped up and down. I said Edge before, but Roman just really confirmed my thought from our prediction show, and I'm going with Roman to take the win.
That was a good show.
Yeah,
good show. Part of the summit. I'll get to the crap in a minute.
I honestly, after tonight, like Sid, I know you're so confident that Roman's going to win this thing. I genuinely don't know. Like I could honestly go any of the three guys could win this, and I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. And we did talk about, like, the second they made this triple threat match, I actually thought, like, that was bad for Roman Reigns, because now they have the out, right? They can keep Roman Reigns ridiculously strong by having either Edge or Daniel Bryan lose this. And the way over the last few weeks, Roman's kind of been that third wheel. Tonight, he didn't really feel like the third wheel. They were all equally focused on each other. And now I genuinely don't know. I'm going to lean towards Roman retaining, but I just don't know.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If for Roman to lose the title, he has to be pinned?
No, anybody can be. So whoever gets the first pinfall or submission wins the match.
Okay, so Edge could beat Daniel Bryan.
Yep.
Correct.
And he'd be the title holder.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's the one thing I kind of missed in all these three ways, because that puts the champion in by the very rules of it, that to me puts the champion in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where Roman's kind of complaint was tonight. He was like, now I'm put in this match. Like, he was calm, he was cool, he was confident that he was going to win regardless, but he's still talking about how this is a massive, disadvantage to me, and it is. But from a booking standpoint, if you're trying to keep, and tell me if I'm wrong here, if you're trying to keep Roman Reigns strong, but you also want to take the title off of him, you'll have somebody else lose that championship and not have Roman Reigns lose the championship. Somebody else is going to eat that pinfall.
But that is if you're going to keep it on him.
Yeah.
So for him to win, he would have to pin one. He'd have to either pin Daniel Bryan or Edge.
Correct.
He'd have to get the pin. Okay.
Right. So whoever gets the pinfall wins it. So.
But anyway,
right.
I didn't book those a lot when not that I didn't like them, but they're very, they'll put this, they've been working on this match probably 2 weeks or more, 3 weeks. So they'll have a hell of a match. But when I booked Puerto Rico, when I did a 3-way, we'd put it together in 15 minutes, and whatever happened, and out we'd go. So, and I sit in the back saying, well, I guess I hope they got it. And they did a good job with it, though. We got by. What's next?
All right. Well, I want to bring our producer Kevin in here real quick, because this is a new show, and Kevin's going to be running the chat for us throughout the day here. And if you guys have questions for Dutch, all right, because we are going to talk about SmackDown, but we got one of the best wrestling minds in the world here. If you guys have any questions for Dutch, you want to ask him something, you want to get him to tell a story, anything, feel free to get your comments in, get those engagements in. We're gonna pitch it to him as often as we can. We'll bring Kevin in. Kevin, has there been anything in the chat so far that you've seen that you might want to bring up here?
Well, we have a legendary mind. We have the dirty mind of Dutch Mantel, a mind that has seen a lot of things.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
We do have a question, though. This one it responds to something that's a big part of WrestleMania week is the Hall of Fame. And obviously, you've worked with many legendary Hall of Famers that have either been honored by WWE's Hall of Fame or other Hall of Fames, Dutch. People want to know, when you get the call for the Hall, who would you like to induct you in the Hall of Fame?
I think I got asked that question last night, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what I said, guys? You remember what I said, Sid?
Yes, I do.
Who'd I say?
You said either Kane, JBL, or The Undertaker, because you were the best man at his wedding.
You didn't listen. Sid, you need to put that pipe down, brother. I said I wanted Vince McMahon to induct me. It's what I said.
You did, but you said that answer.
Well, I did say Kane or JBL or Undertaker.
What a tweener answer, Dutch. You're working both sides of the aisle.
But since Kane, he mentioned me in his induction, and I got some great stories about him. But Puerto Rico, where he almost got me, he actually saved me one night from getting literally the dog crap beat out of me. I fought from the ring back around the corner, back to the dressing room door, and I wasn't getting any help. There's too many of them. And he opened the door, and he's like 6'9", and he looked out, and they looked at him just long enough for him to reach out that door and grab me inside. And then they left. If he hadn't have done that, I would have never made it inside. It was about probably 6 of them, and they were landing some blows. I was blocking, but 6 guys, you can't block it for long, but one of them's going to get you. So he saved me, and I thank him for it. But when I go in, it would be an honor, but I don't think I'll ever go in. I really don't. I just got that feeling.
Really?
Do you guys think I will go in? You think?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to go in. But it's like anything else. It's a political game. I was never good at politics, backstage, never. And you can actually watch a show and see who's good with the politics. So,
well, maybe we need to start. Maybe we need to start the campaign on this show.
Yes, let's
go.
go.
Who do you think is good in politics in WWE?
Well, Kane is, because he's an elected official, so he's the mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. So I guess he's good at it. Yeah. We have one more question coming here from the chat, and if you guys are watching live, don't be afraid to do that as well. If you're watching on demand, fire off those questions in the chat. If you're watching on demand on YouTube or Facebook, even if we're not live, we'll go back and mine those for future episodes as well. And of course, follow us on all the different apps, on all the different things, and download the Sportskeeda app. We have a bunch of different content there. Terrence Jones texts in, says, with your mind here, Dutch, you've held the pencil. You're booking WWE right now, going into WrestleMania, this triple threat match we've been talking about. It's the main angle, probably the top championship angle in WrestleMania. He asks, why should they take the WWE Universal belt off Roman? He should be champ for a long time. Who needs the title more, Roman to keep it, or Edge or Daniel Bryan coming out of this Sunday?
Well, I think Roman needs to keep it. Because they have equity in Roman. Because he was hurt. He came back strong. They put him with Heyman. That should tell you that all you need to know there when they put him with Heyman. So I think Roman is their guy. But after listening to, I'm agreeing with Sid, after listening to Daniel Bryan tonight and Edge, if they did it, it would make sense. Yeah. Which is a lot of things sometimes wrestling doesn't do. They don't make sense long term. But even if Edge does end up with it, which I doubt, and Daniel ends up with it, which I doubt, it still makes sense. And that would still keep Roman in the picture, and then he could come back and reclaim it. But sometimes they're afraid of upsetting the apple cart. We've made the cider, now let's drink it. So and see what it does.
I think Roman has reached, and especially if he's not the one that eats the pin. I think if Roman loses and it's either Edge or Daniel Bryan that gets the actual pinfall in the matchup, I mean, Roman is still the star. He's still the top draw on SmackDown, and he'll get it back sooner rather than later. He absolutely will. So I mean, I wouldn't be stunned if any of the three guys win the matchup, but I would be floored if Roman Reigns is the one who is actually beaten. I don't think he's going to be defeated for a very, very long time, as strongly as he's been booked these last few months.
Well, a feel-good moment would be Daniel Bryan winning it.
Yeah.
That'd be a feel-good moment.
Yeah, and they always want to give people a championship hands in the air moment at the end of the night. So, yeah. That makes sense. I'm going to jump back into the chat and let you guys handle it. Yeah, Kevin, and we'll come back for another round. I
appreciate it. Yeah, so get your chats in, guys. We'll bring Kevin back here in a few minutes and get some more questions in, some more story time for Dutch. So I think we're all pretty excited about the main event. We'll move on now to a match that I still think they should have found some way to put this on the actual card, but they decided to put the SmackDown Tag Team title match on SmackDown tonight instead of on the WrestleMania card. Fatal 4-way, and this thing got started off with a bang. They were doing a Street Profits promo in the back. Then all of a sudden the Dirty Dogs come in, and there's a brawl. Dawkins murdered a TV screen with Dolph Ziggler's body, and then the Alpha Academy and the Mysterios join the fray, and then they cut to a commercial, and we come back. And, I thought this match was actually really good. I thought they gave, Fatal 4-ways are hard, especially with 8 guys in there. They gave seemingly everybody, maybe with the exception of Robert Roode, I don't remember a whole lot of what he did in this matchup, but they gave a lot of guys a chance to shine in this match. I think Angelo Dawkins has one of the best hot tags in the game right now. The surprise to me was Roode and Ziggler retaining. For whatever reason in my mind, I didn't think they were going to retain. This was their first title defense in 3 months. And they did get the win. Montez was the guy who did the damage, his frog splash, but Dirty Dogs playing dirty. They get the win tonight in their first successful title defense and beat pretty much the entire tag team division in the process to do it. Dutch, what did you think about this one?
I thought it was a good match. You know who I'm impressed by? That Dominic kid.
Yeah.
How big is he? He's about 6'2", 6'3". Is he that
Yeah,
big?
he's definitely taller than his dad. I can say that much.
Absolutely. But he's good, and I think I see a big future for him. And him and his dad appearing together, they actually made a good. They kept that match together. And when you look at Rey Mysterio coming in, how long has he been in the business?
He's been wrestling
25 years,
25, almost 30 years.
Easily.
And look at him. He made those guys. He looked younger than they were.
Yeah.
Because how he moves, and I like the double. What is it? The 6'11".
Yeah, the 619, double 619. Yeah,
619. Boom.
Yeah,
I like that. A lot of creative stuff in this, and Rude taking it. It didn't bother me because who did we predict would win the tag team match at WrestleMania? Did we have that prediction?
With the Raw tag team titles.
Yeah.
I think we all picked AJ and Omos.
Okay. Which still makes sense.
Yeah, because for
so
whatever
far,
reason
they started off with 2 good matches, and it was good. It's predictable, but it's good.
Yeah, I think the thing that's most impressive about Dominic Mysterio is he's only 23, and like this is really like his first big jump into wrestling. Is boom, he's right here in WWE, and not only that, but like there's really no house shows. There's no real practice for him. He's basically going out there and he is cutting his teeth on live television on SmackDown, every week, and he has answered the bell. Since coming in and working with guys like Seth Rollins and King Corbin. I mean, that definitely helps him along the way. And obviously he's got his dad, there to help him as well. But he has looked really, really, really good for somebody in his position to be that young, which there aren't a lot of young guys in WWE anymore. Most of the young guys are 30 plus. And I think Dominic absolutely has a bright future ahead of him.
Yeah.
And used to be WWE wouldn't book anybody if you were over 30, 32.
It's true.
They wouldn't book you, which makes sense. But I think a young kid at 22, 21, 23, I don't think they have the experience or the knowledge to navigate the field of professional wrestling in a company like WWE. So he went a little older, a little more experienced, and it shows. Where did those Street Profits come from?
Yeah, go ahead, Sid.
They started off in NXT. I know Angelo Dawkins. He started off in the FCW system before going into NXT. He was there for probably 7-8 years, wasn't he, Rick?
Yeah, he was there for a while,
Yeah.
and then he finally got teamed up with Montez, and then they just took off. They won the NXT tag team titles. They came up. They almost immediately won the Raw tag team championships, and ended up winning the SmackDown tag team titles as well. So they're already Triple Crown champions. Okay, so they did a swap, Sid. All right, whatever. They've held all 3 belts, okay? And I think Montez Ford is just I've got him pegged as a future world champion. I really do. The guy's got all the mic. He's a 5-tool player. He's got everything you need. I really, really believe that. It's gonna take some years, but
a world champion, a Raw world champion.
Either one, either belt.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, either belt, WWE or Universal.
You see him in that holding the title?
I'll be honest. It would take a lot for WWE to kind of invest in Montez Ford in that way. I think that he's definitely is a future Intercontinental champion, US champion, but for them to go all the way with him as the WWE Universal champion, that's a huge step for WWE that we don't see that often.
That's a big jump.
Yeah.
And I don't want to disagree with you, but I'm
go
disagreeing
ahead.
with you. I don't see him. I don't see him because he's still green. You can tell just watching him in the corner. He does. I don't see him doing that. See, like AJ, when AJ Styles started, his first year in the business, he was doing really complicated moves and putting them together. So, but this kid, nothing against him. I don't see him making that jump.
He's like,
I'm not saying he's going to get there. I see the potential to get that. I'm not talking even like this year, next year, but 5-6 years down the line. I see the potential in him to eventually get there, and I hope that he does get to that level.
Well, I do too. But I'm gonna put your mind at ease. He won't. I'm just telling you that.
He's got pure athleticism, so I'll give him that.
I've never met the guy. If I ever meet him and he say, hey, "What'd you say about me on that show, you little bastard?" I said, "Well, I'm just. It's a work. It's a work. Hey, they told me to say that stuff, but brother, please."
You just blame Sid.
Yeah,
just blame Sid.
Exactly. It's fine.
It goes with the territory.
Now,
what are we talking about next?
Well, Sid, were you at all surprised that the Dirty Dogs held on to the tag team titles tonight?
Yeah, I was very surprised by that because the way commentary was talking, it just felt like it was the Mysterio's time. Like they're talking about this the first ever time that we would have a father-son tag team champions. So I do think that it is going to happen in the future. But the way they were talking about it during this match with the Mysterios getting momentum before the commercial break and towards the latter half of this matchup, it just felt like pull the trigger, go for it, get us excited about WrestleMania. Let's have a big title change to kind of really kick off WrestleMania weekend. And then when Ziggler and Rude won, it was kind of like a letdown, but they are talented and they definitely held their own in this matchup. And I thought it was funny. Michael Cole referred to them as the top dogs, not the dirty dogs.
Week. He does that every week. I don't think he's called them the dirty dogs on the first time yet. And I don't know if he's doing that on purpose or not. But he always calls them the top dogs. He never calls them the dirty dogs. I'm not sure what's going on about that.
Well, if he's calling them the top dogs, that's from Vince. He was calling the wrong name. The first thing he said, "What are you calling them that for, you stupid bastard? Call them what I tell you to. I'm not signing your check." And then he said, "God damn it."
Now, I have heard that is notorious, that Vince is just constantly in commentator's ear. Throughout
oh my God, he's screaming at him. Before you go out, you go to the go position.
Sure.
And that's Vince and Triple H and the producers. They hang in there, and then you have the other people who's talking to the lighting crew or this crew or that crew, and they're doing the timing of the show. Oh man, I've seen him grab guys coming back and just literally just cuss them out. I mean, it was embarrassing, really. And everybody, when he starts that, they just go, "Oh, well, let me get back. Let me go float into the woodwork here so nobody can see me." So,
I mean, well, at least you could say he's passionate about the business.
Yeah, you don't know what Vince is going to say and when he's going to say it. But he never said anything out of the way to me, but I've seen him really... I saw him fire a guy. He come back from the ring one day, and he just fired him. Well, he didn't fire him. He told somebody else to fire him. He said, "Tell him get his stuff and go home." I forgot what the guy had said. It was in a dark match, and he went out and he said some unkindly, unseeming bad words to the crowd, and he just told him to leave. And he never worked for WWE again. Wow. What was that name? Brad Maddox.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. I remember Brad Maddox for sure.
He fired him, so
right on the spot. Wow.
He was a pretty prominent role on TV at that point too, wasn't he? He was like the GM or whatever it was.
He was.
I think he was already out of that role.
At that point?
I think at that point he was back to working, I think, more or less. And they put him in the ring one night, and Vince didn't like his promo. Let him go. That'd be a good thing to find out, right? You go out and work your butt off and come back, you're fired. What the? Keep your mouth shut. And they told him to do the promo. They told him to do the promo, but they didn't write it out for him. They just told him to do a promo, and he just went out and did a promo.
Do you think that's part of the reason why a lot of the promos nowadays are so scripted as the way they are? That the talent really has to earn the trust to be able to go out there and do that?
No, they've always been written, always. Which I think is kind of a mistake. I think if a guy has the gift of gab, and let him go out there and, I mean, you need to test him in the back and just see what he can do. But sometimes just let him go.
Yeah.
Because sometimes a guy talking gives creative ideas about him that they wouldn't ordinarily have. You know, a guy come in, oh, let's make him a street vendor or whatever. You know, the guy don't want to be a street vendor. He wants to be a truck driver or a drug dealer or something. So if he can come across with that character, I mean, you couldn't be a drug dealer, but of course, you know, he could be something else. That creative actor, they hear him, he gives them ideas and they take it from there. Instead of depending on creative to come up with everything.
Right.
No.
Right, and especially when you have a locker room, and I heard you talk about this yesterday on the pre-show. When you have a locker room as deep as they are, you know, how do you come up with stuff for everybody on the roster when it's that deep?
It's very difficult. It really is.
I think it's been evident by the book the last few months.
Yeah.
Hey, I love Vince. He treated me well. But Vince has his own writers scared. They're scared of him. So if you have an idea, you can't really go up to one of the writers and pitch the idea. You can, but if it's a little bit complicated, the guy knows how to write, but he doesn't know how to piece angles together because it's new to him. So if you give him the angle now and say, can you give this to Vince? Because sometimes you can't get in there. The guy's not going to go and pitch it because he doesn't understand it and can't defend it if Vince asks him a question. So I could go in there, but, you know, I've only went in there a couple of times because you can't get in there to him. I mean, you can go and you see like 5 guys wanting to talk to him. And I've seen 5 guys not even get in there. Just he doesn't have time for them. He just leaves.
Wow.
So that's what it's like backstage at WWE. It's very political. Remember I was talking about political?
Right, yeah.
And it's according to who wants to talk to him. If one of the top guys want to talk to him, oh, I got time. But if you're trying to figure out something, say, to get out of the second match, and you have an idea that you've kind of thought about, and you want to go in there and pitch it to Vince, you can't pitch it because you can't get in there. And if you don't pitch it, the idea never gets out. And sometimes it goes so long that the idea is dead by the time you can even get to it. The clock runs out on you.
Well, let's find out who's got something to pitch to Dutch right now. Kevin, we got anything going on in the
we got plenty of questions coming in here for Dirty Dutch Mantel. And Dutch, obviously, you have an intimate knowledge of you already saw someone get fired backstage at WWE. And we have WrestleMania this weekend. You were a big part of a WrestleMania some time ago, leading Jack Swagger to the ring, and he took on Alberto Del Rio. Some people thought that was sort of a controversial match. Paul Korinkowski says, it's great to see you, Dutch. How was it working with Swagger and Alberto? A lot leading up to that match, a lot of subtext to it. Kind of tell us about that build to that WrestleMania that you were part of.
Oh, it was great. And how I got there was a crazy, crazy way. I was living in Nashville at the time, and I got a call on a Thursday, and it was the head of talent relations, and he didn't call. My real name is Wayne. I know. I mean, I can't wrestle under Wayne because Wayne is not a name that strikes fear in anybody's heart. Wayne is like your next door neighbor. Oh, hi, Wayne.
Can I have a cup of sugar, Wayne? Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and I got a call. They said, we're going to be in Nashville Monday. Can you come down and talk to us? I said, well, yeah, I guess. And I literally thought, well, they want to talk to me about NXT. They wanted. I thought that's what they wanted to talk about. I said, okay. And I went down there, and as soon as I went in, they said, sit right there. We'll be right back. And then they came back, and Triple H talked to me. He says, you know why we called you? I said, well, no. So I started saying, I look like a mind reader, but I didn't. You gotta watch your mouth, not be too smart ass. He said, we're looking for a mouthpiece for Swagger. and he says, we want you to be a guy who's a little bit older and is kind of pissed off at the country. And it was kind of a play off the Tea Party.
Yeah.
You know, the Tea Party push they
Ahead
had
of its
about-
time now. Ahead of its time.
It was like it was 2013.
Yeah.
And the Tea Party was starting to move. So I went in the back and said, we want you to do an interview and we want to show it to Vince. I said, well, what do you want me to say? Oh, say whatever you want to do. Just say it. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of shitty. You tell everybody else what to say, but no, you're going to leave it up to me to do this interview. So I'm thinking, well, you know the movie Gran Torino?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies. And I thought about Clint Eastwood. He was an old war veteran, soured on the country. Everything's leaving, all the immigrants coming in. And I got about 10 minutes to think about it. I was in a room with, a camera crew,
10 minutes.
about 5 or 6 other people in there, and they're all looking at me like, well, what are you going to do? So I started doing this interview, and I said, where I live, I walk down the street, I don't see people that look like me. I see people that don't eat the same foods as I eat. They don't speak the same language. They don't share the same values. And I went, where did these people come from? I said, and I wrapped it up with, my America is gone. So where did my America go? So I did a couple of those. And the third one I did, I went, like I was talking a little bit about the Constitution. So I'd gathered by this time that it's a little bit of a political angle, which I kind of liked. And then I just happened to say, we the people demand change or something. And when I said that, you could see the whole room. They sat up. It got them. They took it back to Vince and showed it to him. Now I got down there at 3:30. I talked to Triple H about 4:30. I did the interview at 5:30. Vince saw it at 6:30, and they hired me at 7:00.
Wow. What an afternoon, huh?
That is awesome.
To walk to the ring with Swagger and do the first real American interview.
That night.
So,
Wow.
you usually used to Vince saying, "You're fired," but I went in there and he didn't tell me this face to face, but it was like, "You're hired." So I walked
That
down.
quickly.
I walked down.
It was
from
wow.
from that
That's
interview.
crazy.
So I went down there without a job, and by 7:00 I had a job.
And you were on the clock.
And then the next day they called me about 9:00 in the morning, and they said, "Can you make Little Rock, Arkansas?" I said, "Well, yeah, get me a ticket." We can't get the tickets. This is what they said. We can't get you a ticket because it gets there too late. They said, "Can you drive it?" Yeah, and Little Rock from Nashville is about 350. So, did I drive it? Yes, I did. I went out there and hauled my ass all the way to Little Rock, Arkansas, and drove back that night. It was a 700-mile day, and I went on the road that weekend with Jack.
Wow.
Crazy story, huh?
Crazy.
Yeah, and that's an afternoon. That's a crazy story. And that's on top of all the stuff you did in Puerto Rico. So if people are watching us this week, we're gonna have more of these in the weeks to come with Dutch. Yes. You're gonna hear some really, really crazy passenger side out there stories. This one though, related to Jack Swagger. Obviously, you had that great run with him going into WrestleMania and Alberto Del Rio. Chili wants to ask, will you ever walk out with Jack Hager? Now he is busy in AEW, but he is fighting in Bellator and giving the old "We the People" treatment. And what do you think of Jack fighting in MMA now? Jake, excuse me.
Oh, anything Jack does. I'm all for it. He's a great fighter. He was a great athlete in college. Great football player too. He was an All-American football player. Did you know that in high school? Did you guys know that?
Boomer Sooner. Yeah, all that stuff.
Well, that was in college, but he was a All-American high school football player too, and he went to Oklahoma on a football and wrestling scholarship. And then he dropped out of the football and just concentrated on wrestling. He actually has an Oklahoma record of He blocked 7 extra points attempts.
Whoa, it's that reach.
That's pretty hard to do.
That big long hand, man.
He just timed it and he blocked 7. That's almost won a game.
Yeah.
But I never heard of that. Of course, I don't know if it's true or not. Jack says it was.
I can tell you, I've met him. I've done an interview with him, and he is one of those. He passes the old airport test where someone walks down a hall and you turn your head, right? He passed that right away. And I remember getting on an elevator with him to go up and do the interview, and there was a bunch of us in the elevator, and everyone was struggling not to turn their and these are just business people. I'm in this elevator with this former world champion wrestler saying, "All right, what do you feel cool about this interview?" And he's dropping these names, and all these people just suddenly turn and they know who he is immediately as we walk off the elevator. And I was like, "Oh, good, we didn't get held up in the elevator." One more question: WrestleMania this weekend, obviously SmackDown. The big go home tonight. You have that mind. You know what's going on. You're jumping back into wrestling, but you've seen thousands of matches. You can kind of read where the tea leaves are going to be. A little bit of that voodoo, maybe, to see where the thing's going to fall. We know what your predictions are, but who's going to steal the show this weekend? Who's going to steal the show at the show of shows this weekend at WrestleMania? For you, Dutch, who could have the match that fans are saying that was the best match of the weekend?
Well, I like the girls' match, Sasha and Bianca Belair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think they may steal it. I think, and I don't know when they're going to put on Cesaro and Seth. I think that could be another one. But I think all the matches are good. I don't know who's actually going to walk away. I don't think the main event, they should steal it. I mean, the 3-way, but I don't know.
There's a lot of real. I mean, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I think that's obviously those guys always deliver when they're out there together. But
they could have but they got that Logan kid.
Yeah.
Now, I was watching a match tonight. Did Logan turn on Sammy? Kinda.
Well, Logan Paul basically is like kind of treating Sammy like he's like the overzealous fan who's trying to become friends with him. So he's really kind of been blowing him off. He kind of did that during the premiere last week, and then we saw that here when he was sparring with Jake Paul. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see what kind of role he plays, but I think if you're bringing him into WrestleMania, I think he's going to get involved in that matchup in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. Some kind of physical altercation. But Kevin, we appreciate the questions. Keep them coming in, guys. Maybe toward the end of the show here, we're supposed to end in about 10 minutes. We still got a lot to talk about. So why don't we jump right into that? So Bianca and Sasha, they both cut their respective promos leading up to their match at WrestleMania tonight. That was officially named the Night 1 main event tomorrow night. Sid, do you think that was the right call over Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, which probably was the other option?
I've been saying it for weeks that this is a history-making type of matchup and that WWE can't miss out on the opportunity to make this the main event of WrestleMania. Sasha Banks is at the top of her game. Bianca Belair is on the rise. It's 2 women of color. It's 2 people of color for the first time going one-on-one in the main event of WrestleMania. It's just way too important for them not to make it the main event and close night 1. So I am happy they made the announcement. People can stop getting upset and riled up on social media and be
we can't have that now, Sid. We can't have people not pissed off on social media now.
I want happiness. It's WrestleMania week. Let's get some, be hyped about the show. Be excited for the show. Don't complain all the time. They made the match you wanted to be the main event of night 1, so we can go into this. But I will say the build-up was lacking. I know we said it before, but really, they had 3 weeks since this whole turn with Sasha at Fastlane. And I really don't, outside of the 2 slaps that we saw, one at Fastlane and one the SmackDown after, they really haven't done anything memorable with the feud. Like, they really haven't had an angle or a promo exchange that really gets people excited about these 2 ladies going up against each other. I think it's mostly because the fans know these ladies are talented, why they're excited for the match, and it's not because the WWE has made us excited.
Right. The build has been, we've discussed this before, the build has just been awful with them throwing Reginald in the middle of most of this for this build leading up to it, and now really waiting.
This is
Yeah.
This is the first time I saw that kid named Reginald.
Yeah.
Where did
Yeah.
he come from?
So he came in to
What is
SmackDown
he?
with Carmella. So when Carmella came back, because she was off TV for a while, they came back and they kind of repackaged her as I don't even know how to kind of describe her, but this like really upscale type person who had her own assistant and called him the sommelier. And that's what Reginald was. Reginald was Carmella's assistant. And he would come down to the ring with her and he would bring her champagne and things like that. And then all of a sudden, over the course of, because Carmella, after Sasha won the championship, she was that feud with Sasha and Carmella for a while. And Reginald would get involved every once in a while. But somewhere along the line, like Reggie became like the focus. Like Reginald became the focus more than Carmella. Eventually they split and Reginald became infatuated with Sasha Banks. And then that's how he got involved in the Sasha Banks and Bianca build. And most of the build seemed to be focused on Reginald and not on Sasha and Bianca. It's a whole thing, man. It's a whole thing.
Wait a minute. Let me go. I'll wake up in a minute.
Like I said, man, it's hard. It's hard to get that down.
I'm watching that girl tonight, Nia Jax.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this girl really doesn't have an opponent, really. She's just so much bigger than the other girls. You know the girl, and I love this girl, Awesome Kong.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They brought Awesome Kong in and groomed her against Nia Jax. And don't show them on TV and go to a pay-per-view with them. You got an event. Because that Kong girl, I had her in TNA. She is tremendous. And that's a story about the girls in TNA. Nobody wanted them but me.
Yeah.
So I finally bitched and moaned and complained and pitched a fit. And I think they just said, okay, we'll give them to you. Oh, good. And so we had them. And then after about a couple of weeks, they were drawing the highest numbers on anybody on the show. Actually, almost the highest rating they had, except for when Hogan came in TNA, was Gail Kim and Awesome Kong, main event on the show, and they did a 3.4. You imagine that?
Yes.
And WWE, of course, I think they were still doing like a 5.
Yeah.
But a 3.4 for a company like TNA was huge.
That's nothing to scoff at all.
No.
And we could put Sting and Angle in a match. They do a 2-3, 2-4 maybe. And the two girls went a whole percentage point higher. So
I'm glad you brought up. I'm glad you brought up Gail Kim, by the way, because I am live in Tampa Bay, Florida. I was at WrestleCon today. I did have the chance to interview Gail Kim today. Fantastic person. That's going to come out on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. Hopefully this weekend. I also talked to Victoria as well today, and we got a lot of other really good stuff down at WrestleCon. So thank you for that nice little segue into that promo there. So make sure to keep an eye on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel for those interviews to drop. Let's get into that matchup again tonight. Nia Jax and Tamina. This was the second of 3 matches on the night, and I honestly this was a really good back and forth between these two. And then we got the outside interference, which is something that we is grown accustomed to. There's always some outside interference, and they love to protect Nia Jax, and they did that again here with Shayna Baszler breaking up the pinfall. And then this led to another big melee in the back with all the women in the tag team turmoil matchup tomorrow night. And then they made it official, Sid. It's going to be Billie Kay tagging with Carmella. As much as this pains me because they split up the Iconics to put Billie Kay in another tag team, but whatever. What did you think about the women's angle tonight, the match between Tamina and Nia, and then the whole melee going on in the background there?
I think to kind of go off of what Dutch said.
Luckily, it was short. It was short. Go ahead, Sid.
No, I was gonna say what you said, Dutch. With not too many women can go toe to toe with Nia Jax, but Tamina has the look and the presence that kind of can match up with her. So it was a visual even matchup, but just the booking of these matches in this whole tag team storyline has just been so lacking, and it's just so lack of care. Like they don't care about this whole story. It's just about moving it along until we get to WrestleMania. But I am happy that the fifth team in tag team turmoil is fabulously iconic. Carmella and Billie Kay. Yes, I just invented that in my head. Fabulously iconic is born. I am so happy. Rick's gonna be happy because fabulously iconic and the Riot Squad. I think the tag team turmoil is gonna come down to those two teams.
I think it has to, though, doesn't it? Because if you have any of those other teams, like and Natalya and Tamina, they looked incredibly strong tonight. Yeah. They did. But let's say it's Natalya and Tamina. Now all of a sudden you got two heel tag teams going on night 2. I don't know if anybody's going to really be invested in that matchup. You have to have a babyface tag team going into that, which means I think it has to be the Riot Squad. And even if Carmella's a heel, everybody loves Billie Kay. So it makes me think that maybe Billie Kay and Carmella have a shot. But other than that, yeah, I mean, if you go with two heel tag teams, I just don't know if that's going to work for night 2.
What was your thoughts, Dutch?
Well, I don't see a lot of the girls. I don't know. I know that Nia Jax, and I know Tamina, and I know Natalya, but I kind of like the Riot Squad. I like the name more than anything else. But who did you say the two heel teams that would go together and they'd have a hard time getting?
Yeah, I think if it was Natty and Tamina versus Nia and Shayna, which kind of seemed like what they were setting up tonight with how everything went down, I just don't know if the crowd would really get into that because it's just two heel tag teams. Like isn't that why they put Daniel Bryan into the main event at WrestleMania 30 is because they were worried that people weren't going to be invested in Batista and Randy Orton because they were two heels. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that. I just don't know how the audience would react to two heel teams meeting on night 2 of WrestleMania.
Well, you got a point. So you don't know, do you do it? And they may do it, and Vince will come back. That was a mistake. Whose idea was that? Of course, nobody's going to own up to it. And they say, I don't know. It came through the cracks in the walls, Vince, I think. But sometimes about the first minute of a match, you laid the egg. So if the people are not with it, they'll find out. You may have an empty stadium. That'd be kind of a hard pill to swallow, but hell, I've swallowed a lot of them like that. If you make a bad choice on these big shows, but I guarantee you that match won't be long either.
No.
Because
it probably won't be.
They'll figure out, because tonight the match wasn't long. And when they all got in the big, the melee and they was all knocking each other over, who walked away? Wasn't it
Tamina and Natalya?
Nia Jax and Tamina. They left everybody laying and they walked off. Which I think I don't know what that says.
Right, I don't know.
Flatter than hell.
I don't know if that's them giving them the rub tonight because they're not going to win tomorrow night, or if it's just them setting them up as looking really strong, and that way they look even stronger when they win tomorrow night. I don't know. Any one of these 5 teams could win tomorrow night, and I wouldn't be shocked. There are a lot of not matches that aren't really predictable on this. It's really hard to call who's going to win a lot of these matches tomorrow. We do know who won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. And, Sid, I think this match was actually booked really, really well. It kind of brought back a lot of storylines and kind of tied a lot of things together. And these weren't prominent storylines, but they were still storylines. The Mace and T-Bar, still working together. And they looked impressive, eliminating, Elias and Jackson Riker and Humberto. But then Ali's the one who dumped them both out. You got that little Lucha House Party reunion. And even the finish coming down to Nakamura and Jey Uso made a ton of sense after the gauntlet match a few weeks back where Nakamura got screwed out of the Universal title opportunity. this, and then Jey Uso getting the win tonight. That was his first win in like 5 months, even though he's been doing all these main event matches. I think that was a nice little, all right, you've kind of earned this. There you go. You've won a match. You won a main event. You've been doing great work. And here's the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Overall, I thought this was booked really well. What about you, Sid?
Yeah, I thought this was one of the better booked Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royals, just putting a spotlight on different people like Mustafa Ali and, I forget their names all the time. Mace and T-Bar. Mason T-Bar, yes. And then Nakamura. I really thought Nakamura was going to win this one, but I'm happy that Jey Uso got the win because he is the number one guy in this match that deserved to be on the WrestleMania card. How is this guy like one of the cornerstones of SmackDown for months, and then he gets left off the card at WrestleMania? It's like WWE is punishing him for his brother being injured. They're like, we're not going to put you individually on a WrestleMania
No. Punishing him is taking him off TV like they did with Matt Hardy when Jeff Hardy got in, and they didn't do a damn thing with him. Jey Uso has been in 19,000 main events since October, since he paired up with Roman Reigns. So, I mean, he is anything but being punished. Does he deserve to be on the WrestleMania card? Absolutely. But Roman Reigns didn't lie tonight when he said this is the hottest that Jey Uso has been, even with all the losses that he's been racking up. This is the hottest that he's been in at least in his singles career, which hasn't been very long. But yeah. Yeah,
no, I agree with that. But he's 0-14 in the past 5 months. Like in 2009,
1-14 now, 1-14.
Yeah, at least there's that. But in 2009, people were down on like Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase taking losses for Randy Orton and Legacy. We don't hear any of that talk with Jey Uso because he's that good. So I will give him credit. It's even though he takes a whole bunch of losses, it's like nobody really notices because he's so over and he's so talented. So I'll give him credit, and I'm happy he won.
What do you think about the Battle Royal, Dutch?
I hate Battle Royals. I hate them. I think it's a way to fill time.
Sure.
And I don't think if somebody said, "Oh, Jey Uso, he won the Battle Royal," they go. I think the average fan doesn't. I mean, I think we overthink it because this can mean that, and it's way. It's called doing maintenance on Jey Uso. It's keep him out there. He stood there in the ring with Roman. That's his name, Jey, right?
Yeah.
Is it Jey Uso? Okay. Correct me when I'm wrong because I can't remember. I can't even hardly remember my own name sometimes. But he stood there in the ring with Roman Reigns, and he's a tribal leader. I got all that. So It's a way to keep his image out there without hurting him. And I think didn't they used to put the I'm gonna bring up another subject here in a second. Didn't they used to hold Andre the Giant Battle Royal at WrestleMania?
Yeah. And that was the big thing is like usually that was always like the pre-show match. But I think why they did this year is that they wanted the first person to come out with the fans, with the actual crowd there to be Drew McIntyre. And that's why I think that match is going to kick off tomorrow night. And they didn't want to do any of the pre-show matches. So they were like, all right, well, we'll put that on SmackDown tonight. So I think this was just kind of like a 1 year thing. If they bring it back again next year, it'll be at WrestleMania again.
All right, here's my question. A couple of years ago, I thought WWE cut ties with Hulk Hogan permanently. Yes?
They did.
Yeah, they did.
He's back at WrestleMania. So they must have mended some fences, correct?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
And wasn't Titus O'Neil one of his greatest detractors?
Titus was one of the people that came out and were kind of put down Hogan for his explanation and apology to the WWE locker room. So that it is kind of ironic that these are our hosts for WrestleMania this year.
They got Tampa ties. That's why
I'm looking and I'm. Well, yeah, I agree to that. So does Big E.
Yeah.
And the Big E, I thought his video tonight was great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Because he's talking hometown advantage and all. He's talking all this. He's talking Tampa Bay. So, and I didn't know he was from Tampa Bay. Where did he play college football?
Iowa.
Where did he play?
Iowa. He played defensive tackle at
Anybody
Iowa.
know?
Can you hear me?
Iowa. That's right.
Yeah.
He told me one time. I couldn't remember. But so I'm watching Hogan and Titus, and they're the ambassadors, and I'm thinking, okay, things change anyway, and I knew that Hogan would be back one day. And I remember when all this happened and went down, I said, well, whatever. But time heals all wounds, I guess.
I guess, and it doesn't hurt when your name is Hulk Hogan either. I would have to take a venture that's a thing. But yeah, I did want to get back to the Big E video package, because there were a couple of really, really nice video packages, and I don't know which one that I liked more. And I did like Big E's, talking about, where he went to school, where he learned how to grind, where he learned how to become a champion, and talked about owning a piece of Raymond James Stadium field, because that's where he played, his all-star high school football game. And I thought that was, taking us to the barber and showing us his roots, like we've seen with Apollo over the past few weeks. I thought that was really, really strong. But the other one that I loved was that Seth Rollins campaign ad that they threw out there tonight.
Yeah,
That's
that was great.
Why haven't they been running those for weeks?
They should have.
I mean, that's your whole build up to WrestleMania. I don't know if they just thought of it at the last second. They should have been running those for 4 or 5 weeks leading up to this match at WrestleMania. That was spectacular.
Yep. Very, very good. And again, I don't know what they did last week, but you said they didn't do anything with it, nothing like that. But that would have been something they could have run 3 weeks in a row with it. It's almost like he's running for political office.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it looked like. And it worked.
Yeah, I love the campaign slogan of "Embrace the Vision" and everything like that. It was so good.
Campaigning for himself. It was good. It was really good. Very creative too.
And then paid
What did
for
you
it.
like?
Let's talk about the Fiend.
Yeah.
Orton.
Okay.
Sid, what did I say yesterday?
You didn't seem
No, he said
you didn't seem that enthused.
He's had selective memory loss. No, but remember I says this could be like the Firehouse fun match or whatever. Remember that?
Yeah.
The produced match.
Yeah,
I'm
the
watching
cinematic.
it tonight. It was a great package. But I'm thinking if they just have a match, that's a letdown. So
100%.
I still think they may have already had this match and it's been produced. And I think that's what they're going to do. I may be wrong, but I think if they do just have a match, I think it's a letdown.
Yeah.
Because I think you got to have the lighting effects. You got to have this, and you got to have, what's the girl's name? What's her name?
Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss. Yeah.
Alexa Bliss, good-looking girl. She's got to have all this.
And I think that's the challenge, is because they did all this cinematic stuff and did the Firefly Funhouse match because they didn't have a live audience. And kudos to them for doing that, because they were able to give us a product that they otherwise wouldn't been able to do with a live audience. So now it's, how do you transition back in? Do you just show a match on a cinematic match on the Titantron in front of a live audience, or how do you figure out a way to still make it special and still make it that that spectacle with a live audience and doing a live match? That's the difficult thing now, is moving forward with bringing the fans back.
Well, if you turn the lights down, shoot the fireworks in the sky, and all of a sudden it comes on the screen, it's an event. And then if they come back and say they wrap it up and they come back into the stadium, they don't even have to come back. But I think you're going to have use of spotlights, and it's got to be a spectacle. It has to be a spectacle, or it's not going to work.
Yeah,
that's what I think, because they've spent so much time, her throwing the fire and this and that and the other, her sitting on top of him, and the Fiend getting burnt up. I mean, you can't do that live.
No.
So how are you going to top that in a live match? You can't. They've already went. They've already went the movie match with AJ and Undertaker. So this wouldn't be a big jump for them, and I think people kind of expect it. I do.
And they've done this before too, because they did Sid, remind me what they called it, but it was Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton back before WrestleMania 33. It was the
House of Horrors.
the House of Horrors match where they actually shot most of it. And then Bray gets in a car and drives back to the stadium, and Randy follows him, and then they actually finish the match later on in the night. So, I mean, I don't know. They could do something similar like that. So they have done something like this before. But, I mean, if they were going to do another Firefly Funhouse match, I think they would have billed it as a Firefly Funhouse match, but I could be completely wrong, too. We'll see. It's definitely one of the more interesting is the word I'm going to say, because I want to see how they're going to do this. Because it could either be great or it's going to be, oh boy.
No, I think it'll be good. It'll be good. If it's pre-produced, it's going to go through a bunch of eyeballs before it makes that screen.
Yeah.
And if it's the shits, they're going to discount it. They will. They say, I hate that shit. Get out of here. You're fired. So people that are working on this, they have an incentive to do a good job.
All right, let's bring Kevin back in one last time and see if we got one final comment or one final question for Dutch before we wrap up tonight. Kevin.
Obviously, we have a couple people asking. It's WrestleMania time. Everyone remembers. We covered it a little bit earlier. Nick Fun asking that Jack Swagger question. If you're just joining us live, you may want to rewind it because we got an incredible story from him about what happens in just one day in the WWE that'll change your life here. We do have a couple of people asking about your time in Puerto Rico. Obviously, Puerto Rico is one of the hotbeds of professional wrestling. So many different people around the world have wrestled there. So many great stars have come from there. And you perform there both behind the curtain and in the ring. What makes Puerto Rico such a special place for wrestling fans? Several people were asking about it here.
Because you appreciate your life. Because those people sometimes get so excited, they actually try to kill you. So sometimes you think, I'm going out here, and I fought my way to the ring one time, and then you hear guys fighting back because they do something people don't like. It's a hot finish. I actually fought to the ring one time and then fought my way back and lost the match. I lost the match. And I'm still fighting on the way back. I said, damn, I don't know what else to do, people, to satisfy you. Just quit trying to kill me.
Is it still like that to some degree? Do you still hear those stories coming out of Puerto Rico at all? Or was it just a certain time frame?
No, because the people in Puerto Rico are very, very passionate. Mm-hmm. So if you touch them in the heart, and that's all wrestling is, guys, you got to touch them here. Once you touch them in the heart, you got them. I don't give a crap about how many arm drags a guy does or hurricanes or this, that, and the other. If you got them here and you can kind of make them cry, I've made them cry before. I mean, I didn't, but the guy that I told to go out there and do this, heartfelt interview, the people were actually crying. So they're very, very passionate about wrestling. They got a couple of sports in Puerto Rico. It's horse racing, dog fighting. That's one of their sports, and wrestling. And then you can throw politics in there too.
Yeah, that's a sport unto itself, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. But and I learned a lot of stuff I taught myself in Puerto Rico because, a booker to be good, your greatest baseball players never turned out to be your greatest baseball managers. The greatest managers turned out to be the second string guys who stayed in the dugout and watched the manager manage the game. That's where your great managers came from. And the same way I studied booking under some masters. Tom Ernesto, one of the world famous assassins, was a tremendous mind. Dusty Rhodes was a tremendous mind. Jerry Jarrett, tremendous mind. Jerry Lawler, tremendous mind. And here's a guy who doesn't get his fair share of credit, was Ron Fuller. Because and if you go back and you watch like old Memphis from 80 to 84, or you watch Continental from about the same time.
We had some comments earlier tonight about Memphis. People are asking some questions about Memphis as well.
Memphis at one time was the greatest wrestling territory, action-wise, in the country. Because I think Memphis invented more stuff that, Vince stole. He took it all in WCW. It's like comics. Comics do a joke, and all the other comics, as soon as he says it, it's stolen. About 10 comics have it, and they take off to all parts of the country. And by the time the original comic gets there, they said, we heard that. Bill said that last week. Shut up, see? So the guy who comes up with it, he doesn't get credit for it. But so I studied under, all these guys and watched them. But the main underlying fact was they all told a coherent story, and they always had a good guy. They always had a bad guy. Never like that 50-50 booking they do.
Mm-hmm.
And remember one thing about 50-50 booking. No matter who wins, you piss half your crowd off. Right or not?
It's true.
No, you're right.
Not going to like it. So if you really build this guy as this big heel, like Daniel Bryan was the massive underdog in that match at WrestleMania against Orton and Batista. And when he won, the roof come off the building.
Yeah, one of the best WrestleMania endings of all time. And you were backstage, and everyone, what was the sentiment when you were backstage for that? Because then you knew, like, oh, this is the right way to go. Look at that reaction.
Oh, yeah, it was the right way to go in that. Because to me, one thing, when I booked Puerto Rico, one thing I never did, I never let one paying customer, I never let them down. Because if they pay $10 for a ticket, okay, I'm going to give them $10 worth. And I told the guys, I told the talent, I said, I don't care if there's 10 people out there. They bought a ticket. Go give them a $20 show. Look at those 10 people like there's 10,000. Because it's not their fault nobody else bought tickets. I mean, that's an example. But usually most of my houses were good, and they were loud, and it was actually fun to work there. My last time I was down there. When I was down there the first time, not so much.
One more before we get out of here. And once again, Dutch going to be joining us every Friday. If you're joining us on this video a little bit late, you want to watch this on demand, you want to go back and hear those other question segments, we got some great stuff from him there. You worked with JBL in WWE on his first run there. He was inducted in the Hall of Fame. Some people asking if there's a few more matches left in him. I don't know about that, but give us some insight about working with JBL, and I'll hop out of here. Thank you guys for having me as well, but I'm excited what you have to say about working with JBL.
Appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you so much, man.
Well, he's crazy, start off with. Riding with JBL, a very intelligent man. Very intelligent. And he's funny, too. So put us together. We had some trips. But I've been with that guy, man. I'll tell you, the worst driver I've ever been around was Tom Pritchard was one. But the second worst driver I've ever been around was Swagger. Because he'd have his phone and he'd be looking at the phone and driving and looking at the phone. I dared him one time. I said, I'm daring you to look at your phone like every 3 minutes. Just do it, because you're gonna kill us. And JBL, crazy driver, and he would surprise you every day. I mean, I never saw any fights with the guy, but he would get that crowd so wrapped up. You remember the time? I don't know if you can remember this. This is when they sent Tommy Dreamer, Paul Heyman, and somebody else to Raw one night. You remember that?
Yeah, the ECW themed Raw in
guess
1997.
what? They didn't tell anybody else. They
What?
didn't tell me. They said, and they told them, get in these guys' faces. So I'm thinking, and it kind of, I said, oh, they were sent here, but they were just right in my face. They didn't tell JBL either. So we're out there, and they told our opponent, Savio Vega, they told him. I don't know why they didn't tell us. So, and I tell you, I almost ended up punching one of them because, they said, hey, man, and the camera was right on me. What am I going to do? I said, now, if I punch this guy, they're gonna probably fire me, so I won't do it. But that's one of those crazy things that, the talent should be aware of, but they conveniently left that out to see my reaction, or the wrestlers' reactions. They didn't tell any of the wrestlers either. So, and I forgot, I think that was when ECW invaded Raw and made a big deal out of it.
Yep.
And it was actually good, but I wish they'd have told me. We could have made it a little better. I could have pushed one of them. One of them could push me back, and then security went out there. We didn't have to do nothing. But sometimes less is more. Instead of getting in a big brawl, just push the guy.
Yep.
Because that's believable. That's believable. That really is. So, but I love Bradshaw. I saw him one night with Jake the Snake, and John was very physical, especially when he threw that lariat, when he threw that clothesline.
Yeah.
Jake, God rest his soul, he come to me one night and he said, brother, you, you got to talk to your boy. I says, about what? About that clothesline, man. He's killing me. I said, Jake, I think the best thing to do instead of me talking to him is you to talk to him because you're the one taking it, not me. What am I going to say? And did he ever talk to JBL? Never said a word to him. So if you're getting cut in two by a clothesline and you don't say nothing about it, what's going to change it?
Nothing.
So it didn't change. No, it didn't change. And I think we was in one town in Canada one time. He was supposed, I forgot who he was supposed to wrestle, but he ended up wrestling one of the Bashan nephews. I forgot his name. Carl Bashan or something. I don't know. JBL beat that boy half to death because the kid was too green to be in there. And they thought, well, it was in Montreal. They thought by putting a Bashan in the ring, he's going to get this big babyface pop. Well, they put him in there. He didn't look like a wrestler. He was about half John's size. And John just ended up just beating the living crap out of him. He hit him with the clothesline so hard, it hurt me. And I went, John is, and I was telling John in the ring, I said, John, is he okay? Don't look like he's breathing. He said, he's fine. And he covered him and we went to the back. And you've done something impressive when Vader walked up to John and says, that inspired me a lot. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't want to inspire you anymore.
And that is just one of the many stories that you're going to hear on Smack Talk every Friday now with the great Dutch Mantel joining us. So make sure to guys tune in every Friday, 10:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time after SmackDown. We're going to review the show. We're going to hear some great stories. Dutch, I'm really looking forward to working with you. It's been a good first show. And yeah, thanks, man. Thank you so much for hopping on, man. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Dutch.
Well, first of all, I'm not very internet savvy, so to speak. And I'm thinking, I had a fear all day long. I said, what if I can't get on that Zoom call? Is this Zoom or what is this?
StreamYard. We're using
StreamYard. I said, what if I can't get on there? Because yesterday I went like 10 minutes. I said, I can't get on this son of a gun. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to have to text somebody and say, get on. But anyway, I enjoy being here, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more SmackDown reviews with you. What was the worst thing you saw tonight, guys?
Ooh. Sid, you want to handle that one? I got to go back and look at my notes on this one.
Probably the finish to Nia and Tamina. That was probably the worst thing off the top of my head that I saw on the show. Everything was for the most part at least enjoyable.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was good, and it was. I didn't mind the Nina Jackson and her finish with Tamina. I didn't mind. The girls' brawl in the back, to me, was horrible. Just horrible. You have nothing to focus on. You're just glad when it's over.
It was all over the place. I'm gonna go with the Sonya Deville Adam Pearce thing because it was just, I don't know what it was and I don't know what its purpose was, and I don't know if it was a mistake and if it was meant to be there. It seemed like it was out of place. It was just confusing. I don't know what it added to anything, so I'm gonna go with that one for the worst thing that I saw. But we are way over on our time. I'm probably gonna get yelled at for that. But when Dutch is telling such great stories, you just got to let the man roll. But guys, enjoy WrestleMania. We are going to have some WrestleMania post shows this weekend, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to going to Raymond James. Make sure to follow Sid. Where can they follow you on Twitter, good sir?
They can follow me at True Heel SP3 or at True Heel Heat. We're going live on our YouTube channel in about like 10 minutes, so come jump over there.
There you go. Sid's got more work to do. So do I. You can follow me on Twitter at Rick Ucchino. That is RickUcchino. And please go and check out the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. I got a chat with Big E that is up there right now ahead of his Nigerian drum fight that not even he knows what it is. So make sure to check that out. And again, coming up soon, we got conversations with Victoria, Enzo and Cass. We got Gail Kim and Melina coming up there as well, all coming up very soon from WrestleCon and so much more. So make sure to check out the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, and we will see you guys all next week. Have a great weekend and enjoy WrestleMania, everybody.